Welcome, 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 welcome everyone to the video as we discuss the significance of the father figure as we are continuing. This is a part of the Reparenting Nurture Your Inner Child course as we are doing a lot of learning about who we are and how we can bring lots of light and healing to our inner child, to who we are, and the inner self. Today we will be discussing the father figure, and I am inviting you to join me on this beautiful journey as we bring closer our connection with the father figure and the masculine energy, both within us and outside of us, the life force that will bring us new energy, new connection, new understanding of how we view life, and of course, bring new resources to who we are in our life. I'm going to share my screen, okay? Welcome. Welcome to this video as we are discussing the significance of a father figure as an archetype, as an actual father, the connection we have to our actual father, as well as the connection we have to the masculine energy, both within us and outside of us. Okay. Before we start, of course, let's do the exercise where we can take a piece of paper. Let's figure out what is the connection to the father figure. What does it mean to us when we say the word father? Take a piece of paper and write down in a column style, right? Numbers 1 to 16. You can stop this video and do it. Write down 16 associative words with the word father. After you write down the 16 words, take 2 words, so connect together. Word 1 and word 2. What is the further association that comes from those 2 words? Then connect 3 and 4. What is the further association that comes from those 2 words? 5 and 6, the further association. As a result, you will have 8 words. Then you connect further. 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8. As a result, you will have 4 words. Then you get 2 words and then connect the last 2 words together and get 1 word. That 1 word will be your major association, your major brainstorming association with the word father. It will give you a good insight into your understanding on how you see the father figure as it's relevant to your life now, as it's relevant to your past, to your future, to whatever goal. Remember, we're always here discussing how we can practically use everything we learn. So practically understand what is your connection to the masculine energy. You can stop the video. Once you're ready, turn it back on, and we're going to continue. I'm inviting you to watch the short video on this is the award-winning, it's literally 1-minute video that shows a beautiful allegory of what a father can mean into a person's life. Give me a second. Let me make sure, because sometimes there is not a lot of sounds here, but just to make sure that that you will be able to hear. There is no words here, but it's just to make sure that you will hear whatever it is in here. Trying to make sure. Okay, I hope it does. Oh, background, no. I hope you will be able, again, it's not that significant, the sound, but just in case. Okay, let me put the, Sharing back. Beautiful, beautiful. Just a beautiful award-winning short film, as you saw, it was literally 1.5 minutes, made by an Iranian filmmaker. It was beautiful. And that's the interesting part. Let's go further after this beautiful depiction, as we can understand the big coat represents, of course, the father figure. And the beautiful female dress represents the mother, and the 3 kids were represented by the 3 children's clothing. And the idea is that the father is the protector, right? The father is somebody who supports and protects his family, his children, right? And let's start depicting, let's start going further and figuring out each of the each of the depiction that we can have about what father represents to us. The father is heaven, and it's an analogy to the image of God. Fatherhood is an innate feeling that motivates a man to act with compassionate responsibility toward his child or his children. If mother, we often connect mother to the earth archetype, right? The world. The father is the image of the heavenly being, right? Of God, of something that's beyond the universe, right? Something that's above what we can see around us. Interesting, the very famous psychologist Bert Hellinger, the creator of the constellation system, actually said that a person seeking God, wherever that person is seeking God, whether it's in religion, whether it's in sex, whether it's going on meditation, the person that is seeking a higher power, that's what we talk about when we discuss God, right? Calms down when he finds his father. Through the father image, through the father figure, we come to understand the understanding of a higher power, the higher authority, higher protection, higher support, something that in religion we connect to the image of God, to the figure of God. Father is the beginning of it all. The child, if we look at the child as a project, right? Within the conception, mother is the world inside, and father is the world outside, right? Within the conception, we discussed that in the conception and in the mother connecting to the mother figure, right? The idea that the child is physically, literally bonding with the mother figure because there's an actual physical attachment, right? But it's important to remember that there is always a dad. just for a child under the age of 1 year old, it's harder to form attachment with the father figure because a child is so much dependent upon feeding. Like, of course, before the birth, the child is actually nested within the mother figure. And that's the idea. But a lot of times nowadays, right, we have instances where father feeds the child, holds the child. The father is present during the birth nowadays, holds the child, feeds the child. If it's partial feeding, even if it's breastfeeding, they sometimes the milk is pumped and it's put in a bottle and the father holds the baby. And that's a different way, a different new way to connect to the father figure. But again, it remains, the mother figure always remains as a world, as the first kind of instance we go to. The father in the first year remains outside of the world. Does it really become an outside force? I would rather say that the father is the force that protects the mother and the child. It's important to know that often the child connects to the father figure through the mother figure. So it often will happen through the perception of the mother figure, the way the mother talks about the father, the way the mother relates to the father figure, the way that the child will start conceptualizing what the father figure is, what does it represent, what it demonstrates to the child. The world of the father and the child, the relationship between the father and the child, in which there are no, or should not be, right? In which there is no, in which the connection doesn't have to be through the mother, actually begins with the development of the mobility. When the child starts becoming more mobile, when the child starts crawling first, then standing up, and of course the walking. The walking is the formation, of course, the formation of the speech, the walking, that physical development, that usually happens around the age of 1. So between the age 1 to 2, the father shows the world and all its diversity to the child. The father plays with the child the way that only a dad can. It's a different dynamics than the mother. It's a different energy. The dad gives opportunity to calm down when the mother is furious, and vice versa. We're actually going to talk about it in the next module as we discuss the significance of both figures present in the child's life as the child continues growing up after the age of 1 to 2, which is what we're discussing here. We're discussing the age 1 to 2, when the significance of the father figures comes into the reality. The child seeing that even when mom is bad, dad still accepts and loves her. The child writes into the subconscious that even in such a state, the other can be accepted. Even in such a state, even when the significant parent, which in most cases happens to be the mother, they start looking for somebody who can be a support figure. And that's why it's so important for a father to be involved, right? So when the mother is not available for whatever reason, the child can find support, the child can find guidance through within the father figure. The main purpose of the father figure would involve giving life, giving impulse to life, giving protection and care to the mother, providing her with a quiet life, with a supported life, giving her this assurance that I'm always here to help you. I'm always here to take care of you. Father is a guide to the outside world. Father establishes law and order. The father provides an understanding of boundaries and the moral framework. The father gives a chance for a child to extract resources from the outside world and provide them for the family. The father gives protection and care to the children. Responsibility. Being responsible is a world for the father. Recognizing the value of each child individually and children as a system, as each one of them takes place, whether they're older, the younger, the middle children. The father gives the experience of living through legalization of emotions and aggression. Aggression as a good word, not necessarily something negative, but aggression as an impulse to life, aggression as a movement toward getting what you want in life. As we start looking at the father figure, it's important to know that there are, of course, up until this time, right, when we talk about the father figure, we would constantly, up until I would say the middle of the last century, as the psychology field and the sociology field have given place and views of what the family system looks like, how different families look, how there are different ways parents can relate to their children. But until that time, we, of course, always had the conservative, the traditional father figure. The traditional father in a patriarchal society is a stronghold of father, a stronghold of the power. It's law and order. The father is a representation of law and order. The father is tough and fair. The father does not tolerate inappropriate behavior in children. Manifestation would be, you do as I say, my way or the highway. You must do the way I'm told. I'm telling you, you are told by me. The father decides who will inherit the property, who's worthy. The father knows what is best for his children. As you can see in this depiction, this is a picture from the movie Legends of Autumn, Legends of the Fall. And the father he is portrayed, this is a positive traditional father, but of course there are a lot of times we have traditional fathers depicted as a negative, as a dark father. Another example would be from the series Game of Thrones, right? The story of Shmuel, who was sent by his father to serve on the night watch on the wall, the lifetime service, because his son did not meet his expectations. Another movie that comes to my mind would be the Thor, I believe. I'm not so much into Marvel movies. My kids are more like it. But I ended up watching, it was the beginning of that movie, the Thor, where the son, the Thor, did something that did not meet up to the standards of the father, who is somewhere, I guess, in a different planet or something, from my understanding. And Thor, the son, was sent to live on Earth. And that was like a punishment. So that's the idea. The idea is that a lot of times, most of the time, even in Hollywood, even in the books we read, traditional literature, traditional movies would show us the father figure as a traditional conservative person. He is the power. He is the law. He says, and what he says will go in the family. But it's interesting to start noting that as the eras change, as centuries change, of course, tasks are changing for who the father is. And of course comes the change of the father image. Okay, if previously physical survival was important because there were hard times, there were wars, revolutions, changes in power, and so on. So both fathers and mothers were focused on ensuring that their children did not starve, were alive and healthy. And it was a separation of gender, or what we call gender roles, right? Mothers would stay home and take care of the children. Fathers would go outside and earn the living, earn the money, bring the bacon, so to say, bring the bread to feed the child, the family. And that created a certain atmosphere that we just discussed previously, right? This traditional household where the father is not often seen by the child. And whenever the child does see the father, it will be a very limited, but yet very kind of powerful relationship. And that was the idea that the father in the patriarchal structure was the key to the survival of the family, okay? Now, different times have come, and they require us to develop greater sensitivity. We're more awakening. Fathers became more awakening. We have the idea of a sensitive father nowadays. It's important now to learn to live, and that the functions of the father are undergoing powerful changes, right? You can see this picture. I actually posted the websites here. and the Instagram. Very amusing pictures of this father who took amusing pictures with his children. You can see here he's dressed as a Snow White. The child is dressed as a dwarf. Very, very cute pictures. Highly recommend. You can look up over here, instagram.com/SBSOLLY/. You can also look up, I think I'm trying to remember the way I put it in the Google. Unusual pictures of father and child, something like that. You will be able, when I did that, I remember seeing it somewhere before, and then I started searching for this presentation and it came up right away. So you'll be able to find it. Really, really amusing pictures. Highly recommend for everybody to see. And of course, it will go on with right, the image of the new father. In the 80s, in the Europe and the USA, the sociologists and psychologists started identifying the idea, the new image of a father, the new image of a man, which was in many ways the opposite of traditional. There were differences. First of all, were an attitude toward young children. Like I said before, nowadays fathers are present in their child's birth, right? They take the father right upon birth. The child is given to the mother, and now it's also given to the father, skin to skin connection, skin to skin experience, right? So the new model of father implies participation in care, caring, ability to engage into emotional contact with a child. So the emergence of a modern model of fatherhood is associated with democratic trends in the society, right? Equality of spouses in the distribution of rights, responsibility in the family. From the point of view of American psychologists, successful fatherhood is characterized by active participation in raising children, interest in children's success, frequent communication between children and the father. Typically, such fathers are less harsh and they understand. They connect to their children better than the fathers who display purely masculine qualities, where they only connect as this traditional father figure qualities that were mentioned earlier. Just like we discussed in the mother connecting to the mother figure, the idea, this new term that's called good enough mother, there's also a term that's called good enough father. This is the father who stands behind the child as a powerful support, the father who believes in the strengths of the baby, whether it's a boy or a girl, trusts their cognitive instincts, and does not necessarily protect them from all of the mistakes. Someone who is ready to support, pick up, and help where help is needed. This is a living person with their own feelings, and he may not always be stable. He may not always be this perfect, but he may not always necessarily be emotional, open, or not always healthy. But this will be a father who gives support. A child who has a good enough father is not afraid, can tell the father about his mistakes or misdemeanor, knowing that dad will tell him what to do and help him find a way out. The combination of the patriarchal father and the father of modern times. And you can see here, it's very well depicted by the Mufasa character in the Disney's Lion King. The role of a father in his daughter's life is a prototype. It brings forward the prototype of all future relationships with man. The daughter sees her dad and the whole male world is in him and writes him up as the truth, right? The younger the child, the more they seek everything as black and white, as something very idealistic, just like we talked about the mother being the world, the mother being connection to what female representation is in the world. Father brings the male representation of the male, what the male represents in the world for this person, for the daughter in this specific case. I once heard the following from one of my clients, right? If a girl has a reliable father behind her, then not even a single scoundrel will come next to her. he will not come near her. After all, everyone who approaches the girl will first look into her father's eyes. A great movie that depicts a relationship between the daughter and the father would be Jersey Girl with Ben Affleck. Another one would be an interesting, like, archetypal plot about rescue and protection, the movie Hostage with Liam Neeson. Okay. Let's look at various symbolic ways, the various archetypals of different ways fathers can be depicted within the daughter's life. There is such an figure as an absent father figure. Okay. You can see here, this is the movie, I think, Black Widow. Again, not into Marvels, just know about them, read about them, watch, not fully maybe, but I'm aware of this plot. Scarlett Johansson, I believe, is portraying very well here. The idea is that the absent father figure usually brings forth strong-willed daughters, brings forth the idea that the daughter feels that since there is no strong figure that will give her security and support, she tends to develop this within her. It actually brings a duality. Some daughters develop this over kind of strong-willed, where they feel like they can take care fully of themselves and they don't need another male character in their life, while the opposite may also be true, where the daughter will feel that she will be seeking the father into every male she sees, she dates, she connects to, and that will also be kind of skewed in a different direction. The father figure, the presence of a father figure, is very important to bring forth this balance between I need the support and security, and I can have resources within me to bring that forth as well. The father figure in the son's life is the son sees the father as a guide to the man's world for him. He shows him, the father shows what a man is, shows various qualities that the son will usually want to take upon themselves. He shows him what qualities needs to be cultivated, what helps it, what hinders him in this. The father is the leader who will raise a new leader. The father is the object of pursuit and the object of identification for the boy. It is extremely important how the father treats himself, how the father treats the mother of his child, to how the father behaves toward his own parents, and of course to the baby himself. Father can become a friend and a mentor, an idol and an authority. Father can become also a danger, an aggressor, a non-entity, or a disappointment in the man. And that will inevitably bring a disappointment in oneself for that son. A great excerpt from the about this relationship between the son and the father is shown in the movie The Pursuit of Happiness by Will Smith and his son Jaden Smith. Again, a 1-minute excerpt, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't know. You'll probably be about as good as I was. That's kind of the way it works, and I was below average. So whoa. So you'll probably ultimately rank somewhere around there, so really you'll excel at a lot of things, just not this. I don't want you out here shooting this ball around all day and night. All right?
All right.
Okay. All right, go ahead. Hey, don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do something. Not even me. All right?
All right.
You got a dream, you got to protect it. People can't do something themselves. They want to tell you you can't do it. You want something, go get it. Period.
Beautiful depiction of how the father figure, can be a guidance, can be a mentor to the child, to the son in this case. Another, we're not going to watch an excerpt, but another beautiful depiction of the father image and the special connection with his son was made from the movie Life is Beautiful. I forgot the name of the actor, the Italian actor. Amazing, amazing movie. Watched it a few times. Very well made. The movie, I remember the first time hearing that it's a comedy movie about Holocaust. And I thought, how could there be a comedy movie about the Holocaust? And then watching and understanding how you can cry and laugh at the same time. And it can be a beautiful experience. And that's the highly recommend for you guys to watch, to understand, to see another wonderful depiction of a father figure and the significance and bonding, the sacrifice a father makes to save the life of his child. As we talk about an absent father, sometimes the father is absent. It can be done for various reasons. The absent father can be done if it's a father is absent psychologically, the father is absent emotionally on a physical level, if it's a cultural level. The father is considered to be an absent father when the father is hardly mourned, when the father is perceived as not a special entity, not a special connection, not somebody who is worth or valued. When a father is not recognized as an important entity within their daughter's or son's life. When a child finds that he or she hates their absent father and have a hard time finding an affection because it never existed, that child may become bitterly depressed, even giving up on life, because after all, a father is an impulse to life. And it's important to know that absence does not mean nothing. It only means that there is no presence. In the family system learning, we call that a void in the system. When there is a void in the system, it's like a black hole in the universe. It will suck in, it will bring something else, an energy. Whereas in empty space, it's like, as there's an allegory, as we say, there's an elephant in the room and nobody sees it. But you have a hard time moving because that elephant takes up all the spot. Same thing here. When there is a family member, in this case, if we're talking about the father, that is not recognized, that is not valued, that is not given the proper space within the system, that place will be like a black hole, will be sucking in a lot of energy. It's very important to bring recognition to the father figure in every family, whether it's a single parent family or a different type of a dynamic. The importance of masculine energy, recognition of the masculine energy, which is what the father figure brings. We can also talk about the idea of an illegitimate child. Nowadays, it's not as crucial as it used to be in previous, as we talked about the patriarchal, the traditional society, where there was a concept of the term bastard, which means illegitimate son, bastard refers to the illegitimate son. Okay, and the idea is that the father does not recognize their child as the child. There's no connection, there's no physical, or as we talked about, energetical bond recognition by the father of the child. Those kind of children, sons and daughters, wander all their lives in search of recognition and in search of their place, because they were not given place in the family system. They constantly look for that place everywhere. While they're going through life, they would always wander through life looking for their placement. It would be this image of a father without a father. When the dad, when the man it's himself, when it's a boy who grows up without a father, and you can see that this is a dad's lost boy, okay? He grows up and he simply repeats the father's behavior pattern, right? There is no model upon which he can form his behavior as to understanding how to behave as a father to his child, because he never had that modeling in front of him himself. Like I said, that kind of a child searches for father in others, right? There's this movie, Father Figures, right? The same plot. He keeps the brothers are looking for their father, their real father in real life. The term "that father" refers to the fathers who are unemotional, the fathers who are depressed, for whom there is a feeling that life has stopped. The father is kind of maybe physically present, but they're not emotionally or mentally present in their child's life. It's a lot of time father who goes through depression himself. A lot of time it's about mortality as a consequence of unconscious, unknown, deep wounds of the father. It is expressed in the inability to establish an emotional connection, and there is a mental deficiency, which prevents the formation of attachment. We talk a lot about the attachment theory, talk a lot about forming it with one of the parents. We said previous times it used to be with the mother. Nowadays, when the mother's a lot of time, I would say about 70 to 80% of the society mothers work. So fathers are also endowed with this responsibility of bringing the emotional and mental connection with their children. The term "that father" refers to the father who looks at the child but does not see him. He's so absorbed in his own pain that he doesn't see that the child is seeking contact with him. When a daughter or a son interacts with such a father, they integrate that father into their inner world, and that stops. Remember, we talked about it, the father as an image of impulse, that stops that impulse of life in the child. There's also a character of the weak father. The weak father refers to the father who cannot protect his children from the danger of the world or the danger of his wife or the mother figure. If the mother figure possesses danger to the children and the father doesn't protect, the idea that there is no protection. A lot of times such images are presented in many fairy tales, right? Where the female characters are presented as strong. A lot of times traditional fairy tales present strong women as evil. We'll talk about it when I do the archetypes course. But this is the same. And the father usually in all of those fairy tales is a very weak-willed character. And the metaphorical nature of those fairy tales is the image of the fake weak father as an important message related to initiation is often encrypted, meaning the child will have to find this will on their own. The child will have to find resources on their own. And the father cannot protect the child in front of the mother, in front of this huge element. The child's trust in himself or herself and in the world and God is destroyed. On one hand, there is this cruel female figure that destroys trust. And on the other hand, there is no support, there's no security from seeking. Basically, the child will feel like the world kind of preys upon him or her. And that will be the feeling that they will, there are two instances, two ways this can get developed. The child will, if it's a strong-willed child, a child that's born with a lot of resources, the child will have to develop, will go through their own initiation. I'm going to do the journey of a hero open video. So we'll go through their own journey to find the hero within. But if a child is already born as a weak resources, it lacks resources from birth, that child will have a hard time throughout life. Will keep looking, like we said before, seeking guidance and support from other male characters and not finding it, trying to figure out how life works and not being able to find the balance between connection, support, security, and being successful in life. The betrayer father image is very well depicted in the movie The General's Daughter. When the body of Army Captain Elizabeth Campbell, played by Leslie Stephenson, is found on Georgia military base, there are two investigators, warrant officers Paul Brenner, Joel Travolta plays him, and Sarah Sunhill, are ordered to solve her murder. What they uncover is anything but clear-cut. And details emerge about Campbell's life, leading to allegations of a possible military cover-up of her death. And most importantly, it involves her father, Lieutenant General Joseph Campbell. Basically, the father was involved in the fact that the father felt that his career position was more important than bringing justice to the murder of his daughter. The betrayer father image is the one who should protect, actually betrays. The father who closes his eyes and silent about something wrong done to his children. The father who is, like we mentioned before, weak-willed and is afraid to speak, and as a result acts or makes decisions in favor of others, of other people's values, instead of his and his children. The father, the threat figure, brings us to start thinking, how does threat affect children? Threat would stop unwanted behavior in the short term, but at what cost to our relationship? They do nothing to motivate our children to want to listen to us. In fact, it leads our children to resent us. We tend to dislike people who punish us. Punishment, which is again was a traditional, in the patriarchal traditional society, punishment or threats were the way parents would discipline their children. And that would bring forward lots of power struggle, lots of unnecessary tug of war, right? This tug between the parents. Children psychologists have long ago discovered that doesn't work, but the father as a threat brings forward this idea that the father is not the figure who will bring support and security, but rather, again, bring further downfall, bring further despair, and this idea that if the world gives me challenges, where do I find support? It won't be the father if the father is not portrayed as a support figure. And of course, we come to the topic of incest. Incest is the murder of the soul. A father who molests or rapes his daughter or son kills their soul. A child develops such a mistrust in the world that it can take decades, if not more, to heal, peeling off layer by layer, and it will still hurt. Because the one who is called to protect heals slowly. The support that is given from birth becomes a danger. The child loses contact with himself or herself. The child feels guilty and shame for their own self, and that eats away from their inside. This, of course, is a depiction from Forrest Gump movie, a very powerful movie as well. Often, fathers become challenged with rebellious children and the desire for revolution. Very often, children rebel against the will of their father. Sometimes it's just a way of a separation, right? That's a teenager's way, a way for for them to show that they want to learn to live life on their own. They have enough resources to learn to live. And sometimes it's a pain from father's inattention and a way to attract him. A lot of times the rebellion occurs against the father occurs when it's impossible due to the fact that he's not in the child's life. But there is energy, unseeked attention, unseeked energy. There's charge, there's pain, there's anger. The way the child often reacts rebellious is to seek attention, to bring attention to themselves. Very often, if the father still does not bring attention, this will turn into a rebellion against God or against government and authority figures a lot of times. Missing father figure is about the father figure who is physically not present due to death in the family. And it creates a longing, a strong, persistent desire, sometimes unattainable or distant. And it is associated with hunger, associated with desire, with the fact that the souls of so many children left without a father, there is a sadness, a general sadness, longing for the warm and incomparable sense of protection, care, security that can be next to a reliable dad. Many of those whose father left or died fantasizing about what it would be if there was a dad. When we talk about living with a father figure, we're talking about establishing a relationship with a higher power, higher authority, establishing a relationship with the God image, realization and career that will bring in a realistic, practical level. It will be realization of career growth, right? Being successful, feeling successful, not from this desire to prove, but from this internal motive of development or growth, improving and good relationship with a man, with other men, other males in life, good, successful relationship with money, opportunity to explore the world further. The father figure is a connection to the masculine energy. The father figure is a connection with the entire male ancestry, other males in the family. It's like when you establish a connection with your father, you establish a connection with all of the male characters, strong male characters, and they're all standing behind your shoulders. Very often, the rejection of unworthy father entails a rejection of the entire family system, the entire masculine system of the family. And then the person is left, looking at the bottom, without roots. Again, an allegory to the tree. A tree without roots does not grow. The father is only one man from the family. But remember, behind the father stand other male ancestors, male characters that connect you to the powerful masculine energy of your kin, of your family. There's a concept of seeing your father as just a man. In the process of growing up, it's important for each of us to see that our parents are not gods as we thought they were in childhood. Our mom is just a woman, and our dad is just a man who lives their lives and makes mistakes. Mom and dad have another life beside the child, but for the child, mom and dad are the whole world. What can you do if you don't know anything about your father? You can collect information that is available. You can collect the image of the father through clothes, man. You can collect the image of the father through therapy and through various body-oriented psychology practices, various meditative trance practices for working with the masculine gender. The important idea is to connect yourself to the masculine energy that you can get within your within this life, within this connection. Welcome to join the reparenting course as we will connect to the masculine energy. We will create this rebirthing experience where we'll reconnect reparenting, I would say, experience, where we'll reconnect to the depiction of what the father figure represented to us in our childhood and what it may represent to us to now. Bring forth many important resources that will help us go forward and bring success and realization of the goals in our life. Hey, you're welcome to join the course. It's 11 unique and amazing sessions. Welcome to join me on my website, NeuroGraphicaUSA.com. And thank you for joining me today. I enjoyed sharing this special information about the significance of the father figure in our life.